Hey, what's up guys? A new patch has been released, so that's why I'm big again. So we'll start with the most important change, or the most important thing, I would say. A shout out to Dawnbringer. So Dawnbringer, not the item, the S2 person, guy, who works for S2. That was the most perfect sentence I have ever made without any mistakes ever. So yeah, Dawnbringer just being an awesome guy, so does awesome stuff for me, so being nice. And I say nice stuff about him. Is that how this works? Yeah, thanks for giving me admin. So yeah, Dawnbringer. He became an S2 just recently, I think. So getting an item named after him and being a cool guy, I think that works pretty well. Into the patch. These 4 heroes, you can see, God, that was the most worst transition ever. These 4 heroes you see right here are heroes that have had their turn speed adjusted. So now it's not 360 but 450. So what is turn speed? Basically, it affects how fast you can cast or attack based on when you turn. So basically, if you take this Blitz hero, for example, and if he faces directly upwards, you can draw an invisible line in your mind that goes directly through the center of the hero, right? So as long as enemies are above this line, so they're here, like directly above this line that's like drawn like this with my mouse. Look at it, look at it. If the enemy is above this line, like anywhere here, then Blitz will begin casting or attacking instantly. Like he will begin the cast or attack animation. If the enemy is behind him, he will first have to turn, or just anywhere up below the line. So worst case scenario, if you're running away from an enemy hero and he's like right behind you, you will need to turn 90 degrees, so exactly to the right, so that he's like on the line, right? And that's when you will begin casting your animation. So 360 turn speed is pretty much one whole turn, one circle per second. So to turn 90 degrees, that's 1/4 of a circle. So here, again, you were facing upwards, you turn to the right. It's 1/4 of a circle, right? Math. You should be better at math if you didn't get that reference. So 1/4 of a circle, which means 1/4 of a second, is the time that before it took for these heroes to cast something when you were running away. And you might think this isn't big, but this is pretty important. This could be the difference between life and death. For example, you're, let's say, the same Blitz and you're running away from an enemy and your stun comes off cooldown. And there's an enemy chasing you, and the enemy will catch up with you, like no matter what. Let's say he has post haste or something, and you have 1 hit health, so he will catch up with you. Now, whether you will have the time to turn around and cast your stun, like for a skill, to then proceed and run away, or will you die before you can do that? That will be the difference between life and death, so that's important. So cast time has been increased from 360 to 450 for these 4 heroes. So that's Blitz, Demented Shaman, Hellbringer, and Voodoo Jester. So now their turn times, not cast times, should be better. So that's kind of that change. So then we have specific hero balance changes. Drunken Master has received some buffs, finally, I guess. I'm not sure how did he become so underpowered. Like before, he was not overpowered. He was just okay. I never thought he was overpowered. I thought he was okay. So then Moonmeter picked up like a Soul's Bulwark plus what is it called? God damn it, I forget. Are you kidding me? Shieldbreaker. So, Salt Bulwark, Shieldbreaker, and he raped. And everyone's like, oh, that's overpowered, no question asked. And this dude just crumbled under the weight of the community and was like, okay, here are nerfs. And then Drunken Master became trash. Then they reverted the nerfs and whoop-de-doo. Drunken Master is still trash somehow. So, I don't know, I thought he was okay before, but I guess he was underpowered before. So, the buffs are... His stagger cooldown has been decreased, so it was 12 seconds in level 1, and now it's 9 seconds in level 1. The level 4 cooldown, 6 seconds, still stayed the same. So basically, stagger, more of a 1-point wonder, so you kind of want to pick it up at least once, or, well, you always pick it up once, unless you're not too good at the game or are going for something new. So yeah, just a buff to the 3rd skill when on earlier levels in early game, and a buff to his ultimate now. The way Drunken Master works is that his skills will get buffed if you have drunken charges, and each skill required 2 drunk charges. So first skill will also do a slow, the 3rd skill will also give you damage and movement speed, ulti will also reduce damage taken. So before the ultimate would take 4 charges, now it takes 2. So basically you will end up with more charges and it will be easier for you to use your ultimate more effectively. So a buff to that. which this is a pretty strong buff. This will make Drunken Master much stronger. Actually, I like Drunken Master, so I think I'm gonna try him out after these changes. So next we have kind of a change to Sulfuras. Illusions now deal 33% of the damage from his aura. So his aura deals true damage, so 33% of the damage now also works on illusions if you create them, and they will also gain regeneration from it, whatever. So next change we have to Rally. Actually, I need to give him some levels. What did you think I would give him more levels? So his movement speed was increased by 5, which is like, okay, 5 movement speed, whatever. That was the most scary illusion disappearing I have ever heard. So in addition to that, his Q skill now costs 10 less mana. Compel it's called. So this is Compel, costs 10 less mana, which 140 mana, I think that was outrageous. It just destroyed your mana pool after just one cast. And a huge change. His second skill now deals physical damage, so it's not just a useless slow skill that you pick up last. It's now actually a really good skill. Like, you will pick this up, it will make you stronger early and later game, and like forever, everywhere. You get the idea, right? And in return, though, it costs 35 extra mana, so now it's 75 instead of 40, but it deals damage, it deals physical damage, so that means it benefits from your third skill as well, which ignores 50% of enemies' armor. So second skill now actually good. Perhaps people can now even go for builds like get your Compel once just for the stun, and then max out your W for the quick damage or whatever. I don't know, just options. I'm throwing out ideas here, and yeah, this looks interesting. Probably will still max my Compel, but now I'm kind of more inclined to max out my Q and W and not touch my E until later, because early game people don't have much armor anyway. So yeah, a really good buff to Rally that he really needed. I think Rally is an underpowered hero. Then we have kind of buffs to Revenant. My view on Revenant is that his skills are all really good on paper, but somehow just doesn't work out in a real game. I'm not sure why. Maybe he's way too dependent on mana, and there's been some addressing of that. So all of his skills, all three now have an increased cast range. Has been increased to 700, so this circle you can see here, up from 600. So 600 probably here somewhere, I suppose. So now it has been increased a little bit. You can cast all three of your skills further. So also his third skill has a reduced mana cost. It now costs 20 less mana. So on level 1 it's just 70 mana, which is not much at all. So my build is I usually max out Q and E and don't really touch W, but we'll see how that works out. Definitely needed buff to Revenant. I think everyone will agree that Revenant needed this kind of. So then we have Shadowblade kind of buffs. His stat gains have been increased by 0.2, so he gets 0.2 more strength. So from 2.1, all of his stat gains went to 2.3. And also his ulti now has 200 extra cast range, so that when you die and you need to use the ulti again, and perhaps, for example, you're behind and you need to use the ulti on an enemy hero, you don't have to come as close to him and risk as much. So this is a pretty big change for when you're behind. So this will help Shadowblade a lot. As for the stat changes, they will definitely make him a better carry, give him an easier time later in the game to carry. But the main problem with Shadowblade is underpowered is that because he's not that good early game, at least with the builds I tried. I might try some more later, but I mean, first and second skill on level 2 for 180 mana you can deal 120 damage pretty much, and like do a slow a little bit. So it's not very efficient. If you take, like, for example, Rally, he deals like 70 damage, which isn't not too much, but it stuns, which is really huge. So yeah, this will help Shadow, but the problem is he's not too good early game, and he's not too good for a carry late game. So you take like Swiftblade, he's not too good of a carry late game, but he is really strong early game. So how will Shadowblade come into play here? So I don't know, maybe people need to go more for a glass cannon build than Shadowblade, since the tanky build just needs too much farm and doesn't deal enough damage. But nevertheless, a step in the right direction. Shadowblade needed a buff. I think everyone will agree, whoever played Shadowblade. Kind of an underpowered hero. And finally, Solstice nerf. Of course, everyone cried. I shouldn't say cried. Solstice was pretty, well, not overpowered, but, well, yes, overpowered, but not broken or anything. So I'll need to change the day form thingy right here. There we go. So it's daytime. So his second skill now deals 5 less damage, which is the perfect nerf to the second skill. I have actually thought about this nerf, and I thought that this is what will most likely be done. So now instead of dealing 20, 30, 40, 50 damage, it does 15, 25, 35, 40. So 5 less damage, which is basically a nerf to Solstice's mid, when you have mid against mid, and Solstice just casts his second skill here and basically pushes the enemy out of the lane completely. So now that will be less effective because, well, simply put, you're dealing much less damage. Or you'll either have to level it up more, or you'll have to do something else. But basically, Solstice is not as effective mid anymore, so yeah, good nerf. And also a nerf to his ultimate, there needed to be a nerf to his ultimate, because at first people thought, well, you have to channel it for the full 3 seconds, you'll never land it, it's a bad ultimate. And then people just learned, oh wait a second, I can just do this. And just deal instant like 200 or 400 damage based on the level. So, a pretty good skill, people learned to use it, and now it's nerfed. The cooldown has been increased by 20 seconds, so now it's 100, 90, 80 seconds. So you'll have a 20-second extra cooldown. That will definitely impact Solstice to some extent, I suppose, but most of the time, like this 80 or 60 seconds, that's like roughly once per team fight, I would say, unless you like revive and go into a team fight instantly right after. This won't make a difference. Just so you know, I think after level about, yeah, exactly on level 20, if you die, it takes 80 seconds exactly for you to revive. So an 80-second cooldown on level 16 means that once you reach like close to well, I also even say in level 16, once you revive and go straight into the action, you will have your ultimate ready anyway. So I'm not sure how much this changed, but okay, it's a nerf. Really good to kind of repart here. We'll see how Solstice does now. He'll be definitely a much weaker hero when mid. Last change we have to Vindicator. His magic armor has been increased from 5.5 to 6. Vindicator is still kind of weak. If he gets the farm somehow, he's a beast. A beast. Not too beast, like, but a really good carry. But the problem is, it's really hard to get farm on him because he's so squishy, so slow, doesn't have any escape mechanisms, apart from his ultimate, if you consider that an escape mechanism, doesn't have any slows, stuns. It's really easy to kill him, even if he does get farm. He usually needs to get some survivability items first, and the new item Dawnbringer, which would have worked wonders on him, you would think. Because of his second skill, which is an attack modifier, you cannot really pick it up, because you'll lose on this slow from the Ice Brand. So, yeah, I think this won't be enough. A step in the right direction, but I think Vindicator needs more buffs. He needs to be a bit stronger early game, because he just dies way too easily. So that's kind of it. Maybe Vindicator needs to be played more as a support, I don't know, but we'll see. So that's kind of it for this video. Those are all the changes. A lot of balance changes. Most of them are buffs. One nerf is to Solstice because, yeah, nerf to Solstice. But other than that, really good changes. Buffs to kind of underpowered heroes. I mean, all of these heroes needed buffs except for Demented Shaman, I would say. So yeah, quite happy with the changes. Think it's a good patch. So let's go play more HoN. That was one of the worst. Again, this video. And I'll see you guys next time.